What are you showing me? No-Xplode.
Oh my Lord. 2008
not,
called.
not the same as the original though, right?
No, but it's good. Better than Jack 3D or the other C4 and
Dude, the original Jack 3D, when I took the original Jack 3D the first time, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is how the Ultimate Warrior felt when he snorted cocaine.
I told you about the shady nutrition store I went into in Lubbock where they gave me the Jack 3D, same one, and I was like, oh, I'm out of NO-Xplode, and that Jack 3D, it was the old one. It was the old one because the top of my head was tingling. I mean, it was not. That's not healthy. Maybe back when we were in our 20s and 30s, but you're risking serious damage to do that now.
Well, dude, it was like straight meth. It's like the rip fuel.
Yeah,
I mean, we were the DOD, at least the Army. Majority of the Army was on methamphetamines for at least a good 5, 6, 7 years. I wonder if that's got anything to do with any of our VA claims now. Like when you look at our generation, we're all effed up. It's like, well, you were on meth for like a decade, so.
You remember hydroxycut? There was hydroxycut and rip fuel. Yeah, straight up ephedrine, man.
Yeah, there was. I remember it was at Huachuca. That dude dropped dead on the 2-mile run.
Yep.
And they come back and they found out that right before he started the PT test, like he popped however many hydroxycuts, and it was like, yeah, man, that shit is straight ephedrine, and you just taking it like candy.
Well, we talked about this before, but that was also around the time when Andro owned a NOR-19, where you could buy it at GNC, and that's the same stuff that Mark McGuire was using. Yeah, I took that when I was at the det, man, and I was jacked. I was jacked, man.
Strong. I didn't get as much from the Andro though.
Pretty young.
It wasn't the feeling. I mean, it was definitely Jack 3D and the rip fuel and the original No-Xplode, like the Andro. I didn't.
That Andro was a steroid precursor. That didn't have to do with energy. But yeah, man, now it's not illegal, but no one can produce it. So if you can find it anywhere, it's not illegal to buy, but no one's producing it. So there's no supply. And the way they did that was tricky. They started that in 2000. They started that process about 2009. And then by 2012, you just couldn't find it anymore.
Well, you don't need it though. Now you got compounders and concierge medicine. You just go straight for the good stuff.
Yeah, but it's so expensive.
Dude, the peptides are crazy expensive. Now, if you're in the military, hey man, if you're in the military, man, Pete's giving everybody free TRT now.
Yeah,
that's good though.
I'd like to see the details on that. What guidelines they're using. What levels are optimal, because you guys know my bugaboo with optimal levels. It's like an optimal level for a 50-year-old is not optimal, in my opinion. I think the optimal level is 25 to 30. That's the amount of free testosterone you should have circulate in your system, because the optimal level for a 50-year-old is going to be low because that's how they've always tested it. Optimal for 70 is basically non-existent. So it'll just be interesting. I'm all behind it. I'm all behind Hex's move. I've always said that. It's like that movie, Josh. Did you see it? That Bigger, Stronger, Faster, the documentary.
Yeah.
It's pretty old. It's like, dude, it's performance enhancing. There are no, unless it's against the Geneva Convention, that you can't bring enhanced enhanced soldiers to the field. You should use everything you can. That's healthy.
Yeah.
That's going to keep your soldiers alive and all that. But I'm 100% for it.
I am kind of curious to see how they're going to administer that stuff though, because it's funny because I have my health and wellness with my main doctor tomorrow, my civilian doctor. And again, I have that for like a heart attack or brain aneurysm or something like that, right? Like I need to go get, like hospitalized or whatever. And then I've got my concierge doc and I've got the VA. And the one good thing with Hexeth doing that is hopefully that stuff trickles down to the VA. But like when you look at the VA and my civilian, and it's exactly what you're saying, Luke, she's like, okay, well, we'll do your test. But basically, their whole thing is, well, you're 50, so you need to be at this range. I'm like, well, no, because I wouldn't be here, because I'm tired or whatever the cases are, right? Whatever your symptoms are. It's like, well, no, if that was the case, then I wouldn't be here. It's like, I don't need to feel like I'm 18. I'd like to feel like I'm 25 or 30, that same energy level, motivation, focus, clarity, whatever. And they can't even test like that. I mean, one, it's like, well, we got to go do an endocrine referral and, look at your whole thing, because maybe your whole body's jacked up. And oh, by the way, your range is from 300 to 1200 and you're 301. So you're fine. Like, well, no, that's not, it's right up there with the alcohol question. Do you drink 1 to 2 drinks a day or 3 to 8? It's like, well, I do, 4, but you put it on that high level. And that's what they do with the tea, and the VA won't even test for it. When I went, before I went to my concierge doc that I've got now, I asked, and I had no idea where my numbers were. So I just like, hey, you're going to take the blood anyway, just add it. And they're like, doc's like, hey, we can't even touch that stuff. He's like, we don't even, we can't even talk about it. And that's what makes me wonder about if this is implemented through the Department of War. It's really finding the doctors and the PAs that are smart enough about it, because even my regular doc, they won't talk to me about peptides.
No.
And I'll tell you, my wife, she's got severe rheumatoid arthritis, and she's been on what they call the glow stack lately, which is it's BPC 157. And there's one other newer one, is some copper thing or whatever. But anyway, so she does an injection every day. She's been able to come off the meds. Unfortunately, the BPC 157 only has a half-life of like 4 hours. So she's got to do it daily or whatever. But, she takes a hydroxychloroquine. When she was taking that, you go blind. It like makes your eyesight deteriorate, which is one of the big things. Was she's like, well, I don't, and her eyes were getting really bad. So she's like, well, let's try these injections and see how that works. Because she had taken the BPC 157 pills, and that was pretty successful. So she went, I think about a month now. She's been on it, doing the injections every day. And, on her really bad days, she's able to pop a couple ibuprofen and get through the day, which is unheard of for RA, most RA folks. And like for her, I mean, they give her, damn near cocaine to kill the pain, or heroin to kill the pain when she has flare-ups. But yeah, she hasn't had to touch any of the prescription stuff, but it'll be interesting to see the Department of War and what kind of doctors and stuff that they can find.
Well, you were saying that maybe it'll trickle down, but you guys were saying that Hegseth was not real big on the VA. That's why you're glad he's not the VA secretary or whatever it is, right? So maybe the current VA secretary, I couldn't even tell you who it is. Maybe they'll take up that
guy,
mantle.
Doug, you know who
Doug,
he is.
yeah.
Doug.
He's a slender guy with glasses.
Yeah, I'll look it up. But anyway, maybe he'll take that by the horns, and because dude, that would solve a lot of problems. I mean, since I've been back on it, I was off for Doug Collins. I was off, Josh, for probably a year. And I recently started back up, and it takes a while, before it really kicks in where, your endocrine system starts to adjust, and it's not just one shot and you're good. Your body takes some time to adjust. And I think I was telling you guys in the chat group, the two biggest things I've noticed, of course I'm going back to the gym. You never can tell, but the two big things I've noticed were, alert and awake. I didn't feel tired and sleepy. My digestion got better, and my thoughts were clear. I could organize my thoughts better, and I noticed that within 10 days. And it's like, man, think of instead of passing out a bunch of meds, ADHD at the VA, it's like, hey, let's try this hormone replacement therapy. But again,
which is why they'll never do it.
Yeah.
Which is 100% why they'll never do it. It's and even I'd even say, with private doctors, because I don't go to the VA for anything. I just go see my private doctor here locally. And the first time, after I retired, was getting, set up with him. And I was like, we do the whole, like, what hurts? And it's like, well, everything hurts. It's like, just everything hurts. I get up in the mornings, like, everything just hurts. And his default was like, all right, well, what painkillers, what meds, do you want? And I was like, I don't want that. Like, so I did physical therapy for my shoulder. I did physical therapy for my hips, that the Army, right, wanted to replace right before I retired. And I did physical therapy for it. And as long as I'm doing that, I don't have a whole lot of pain. My hip, it hasn't seized up, knock on wood, it hasn't seized up in, like a year and a half. And it was just plain ass old physical therapy. But they were like, hey, let's, we'll replace that real quick before you retire. And I was like, no, dude, like, I don't, like, is it that bad?
No.
But they just wanted to cut it, they just wanted to like cut. And I was like, no, man, like, no, absolutely not. If I have to get it replaced, 15 years from now, okay, well, so be it. But it's like, hey man, I'm in my early 40s. Like, I don't think I need a hip replacement. Like it hurts and it seizes up, and it's basically all my labral all torn, all the soft tissues all chewed up. It's a burger. And I've got the hip socket, it's all bone on bone. And when it binds up, then I can't move my leg. And it gets pretty dynamic.
It's all those ultras you're walking.
Yeah, right. I was actually worried about it during both ultras. I was worried. I was like, dude, if my hip seizes up like that may be a wrap for me. And so anyway, but they just, like you said, they won't have a discussion about peptides. It's like, well, what stacks, could I do? Because a buddy of mine has shoulder surgery, and he did the, I think it's called like the Wolverine stack or something.
Yeah, that's what Summer's on.
Okay. Yeah. And so he was like, man, he goes, a buddy of, actually a mutual friend's, a physical therapist, and was like, you're going to get, shoulder surgery, knee replacement, whatever. Like the Wolverine stack is the way to go during recovery while you're doing your PT and everything. And he recovered quick.
Yep.
On his shoulder surgery. And he was like, hey man, it was like, and he attributed a lot of that to the peptides, because he's our age. And he's like, man, generally guys, our age, but we don't recover quick from a whole lot.
Right.
And so like within 4 weeks of his surgery, he was back in the gym, from shoulder surgery and stuff. So but Big Pharma is not going to let that. They're not going to let peptides or anything like that, get in their way of, pills and painkillers and, everything. Because, it's like you said, you take a kid, it's like, well, that kid's got ADHD or ADD, whatever. We got to push some pills on them. You're like, well, they're 8 years old and maybe they're just a kid. That's. You ever thought about that? Maybe you just let them go outside and, play and, spend some of that energy. Maybe it'll be all right.
I'm really glad that your friend with the shoulder surgery didn't get hooked on pain pills and then go fraudulently use government credit cards. I'm glad that didn't happen.
That would never happen. That's never happened. You're just making shit up. Oh man. Yeah, dude. It was wild, dude. But dude, our healthcare system is so broken. Because even I did the I did the testosterone test, got everything, and like you, I was at the bottom of the range, and he was like, "Well, you're normal. You're
300.5. You're fine."
Yeah, dude. I think I was in like the 340s. And he was like, "You're normal. You're in the normal range." And I was like, "Normal for my dad, who's going to be 80 years old this year, baby."
Let me ask you a couple of questions. If you remember, how long ago did you get that done?
That was a year ago.
Okay. Do you happen to remember what time of day they took your blood?
It was first thing in the morning.
Okay. That's red flag number one. Number two, did you work out the day before or that morning?
Definitely not that morning, because I had an early doctor's appointment. My doctor's appointment was like, I think I had like the 7:30. I think I had like the first call, and then I did labs like right after that.
And if you did work out the day before, specifically if you did legs, like if you did squats or deadlifts or something like that, that spikes your testosterone for about 12 to 18 hours. And plus your testosterone levels in the morning. That's why you wake up with morning wood. Well, some people do. is because your testosterone spikes in the morning. So it's like it bottoms out around, late afternoon when you're tired, your cortisol levels are up. So like I guarantee you, these doctors, these credentialed doctors, and some of them do know this stuff, but the majority of them don't. The majority of them still say, oh yeah, Lyle Alzado died of steroid abuse. They just don't know because it's been demonized for so many years. So it just chaps my ass, man. Chaps my ass.
Well, it's like my wife, when she goes to see her, rheumatoid arthritis specialist or whatever, like they're all shocked. They're like, how are things going? She's like, oh, I feel pretty good and this and that and whatever. It's like, so you're still taking the hydroxy and this and that? She's like, no, I'm actually off all that. Like, what? Like, yeah, I'm doing this peptide therapy stuff. And, going back to what Josh was talking about, I know we've mentioned it a few times on here, but, we started looking into it once Aaron Rodgers had that complete tear of his Achilles and was back on a football field. Now, he wasn't playing yet, but he was on the field walking and running around at 4 months. Now, there were other things that went along with that. There was a Novell surgery that they did or whatever. But when you look at the recovery, complete ACL tear, and he's on the or Achilles tear, and he's back on the football field, working out in 4 months, that's incredible. And when you look at, I guess that's what worries me with like the Department of War when they look at how they're going to find doctors and PAs, because they just refuse to have the conversation with you. And they refuse to have the conversation with you because they refuse to educate themselves on it. And that's all I'm asking with the doc is like, I just want to be able to have the conversation. When I went with my new doc, because I switched services, I had a good 45-minute back and forth. What do you think about this? What do you know about that? She brought up some things that I didn't know. And I was like, yeah, let me go look, a couple of these things up or whatever. Because the other thing you look at too, as a whole, and I know it's like all anecdotal or whatever, but folks that are looking into peptide therapy and this, that, they probably live a better, quote unquote, healthier lifestyle than most other folks. Right. Not saying that they're, all vegans and, cut out no fat, no cholesterol, whatever, but they probably eat generally, pretty healthier than the average person. They probably work out more than the average person. They care more about their health than the average person. And it's like, hey, I should be able to sit down with my doc and not have that conversation. But it goes back to what Josh said, it's no, let's just give you a pill. It's like, well, let's just treat the symptom versus, well, hey, why don't you look at the cause? Now, if the symptom, and that's, I've had a bad back for years. And I remember when I went to the VA, they thought I was, which is crazy because they're all like, they thought I was a drug seeker or whatever. And, I had to sit there and tell the doc, like, I would drink a gallon of water a day if you told me it'd make my back feel better. Like, I'm not looking for anything specific. I just need to find out what the issue is. And it was like Josh, it some physical therapy, finally with a chiropractor and some stretches and this and that. And, it's like, wow, it feels a lot better. But it's just everything. It's the quick answer. And now when you look at billing, so, most doctors do 15-minute time blocks with the patient. That's what they have is 15 minutes. My daughter, you know what they're taking her down to per patient? 7 minutes.
Holy cow.
7 minutes per patient. So what kind of conversation can you have with your doc about, your health and well-being and some issues that you have, Josh, in 7 minutes with your doc, knowing that the first minute's like, hey, how you doing? How long you been waiting out there? Yeah. Okay. Well, now you're down to 6. So now you got 6 minutes to cover your annual, what's happened to you in the last year. Right. And then going back to like what Luke said with the testosterone levels. Yeah, that was my thing, because they want you to do the test before 10 o'clock. And like he said, that I looked into like the deadlifts and the squats and stuff like that gives you a very decent spike.
Yeah.
And my argument to that, and again, this is where the docs won't have the conversation with you. If you came in, took your blood test, and Josh, you're at 315. Well, guess what? It ain't going to get any better throughout the rest of the day. So let's go ahead and have that conversation, right? Now, if you come in, we test you and you're at 800. Okay. Hey, dude, you're going to drop down to, 750, 725 or whatever. But it's like, hey, what are the chances if you're at 315 or 330 that you're dropping below 300 by noon? I'd say it's probably about a 95 to 99% chance.
And that's just free testosterone levels. No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's just overall testosterone levels.
Yeah.
So it spikes, like everybody's going to say, oh, do squats. It's like taking steroids. It's not, because it increases your overall testosterone, but not the free testosterone is what your body actually uses. Because I obviously I've read a lot about this, because what else squats and deadlifts do? It produces a lot of cortisol in the body, because the body's like, oh, something's bad. You know, I'm really having to work hard. So it's kind of offset a little bit. I'm sure free testosterone is a little bit, but that's why I always ask you guys, you know, hey, what were your levels? Oh, cool. What was your free testosterone level? And some places don't even test for that. It's like you could have 1,000 level testosterone in your body, right? And measure that against the estradiols, which is the estrogen in the body, and all that stuff. It's like your free testosterone may be critically low. And what a lot of people don't understand too is males actually have more estrogen in their body than females. More estrogen cruised around the body. Isn't that crazy? But it's offset by the testosterone. It's crazy, man. Michelle and I, you know, it's very frustrating too, the 7-minute thing or the even 10. It's like we've had to, you know, Michelle's had to switch doctors a few times, and she has a pretty complex past, you know, health past, you know, and a lot of it has to do with ding, 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 hormones. And trying to explain that to a doctor in 7 minutes, it's like trying to boil down the last 25 years of your life in seven minutes. It's it's a conveyor belt, man. You got to make money.
When the doc gets in the room, be like, all right, hey man, did you get here okay? You good? How much time do you have? You know,
so, the mad minute on that bad boy.
Yeah. It's the 7-minute thing. Again, we all agree. We talked about it. Our healthcare system is very, very broken. Very, very broken. And you know, but until we get the lobbyist from, you know, big pharma out of the picture, it's never going to get fixed. And get the government out of the healthcare system.
Yes, too. I was about to say we have this Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah, get this, because we have this hybrid, you know, system, and it's not working. Like it's absolutely terrible, you know. And especially, you know, the good thing is that with, I don't say AI, but you know, with the internet and being able to pull data and read data for yourself, you know, we have it better than our parents had it at that age, and our kids are going to have it even better because they're going to, at least whether they do it or not, that's going to be on them, but they will at least have access to, let me see what's actually going on. Let me, you know, at least they could go in the room armed with, you know, talking points to try and maximize their 7 whole ass minutes that they that they have with their doc, or not even a doc, with their PA. You know, which to me, the credential doesn't matter, because I've met good PAs, I've met bad PAs. I know you guys have too. I've met good docs, I've met bad docs. But it's yeah, man, it's broken. It's broken bad. And I don't know that it's fixable. I don't know that you can fix it at this point, honestly.
You want to hear some discouraging stuff? I wrote a note down because we're all getting older. We've been doing this podcast for a while, almost coming up on 5-6 years. But some discouraging stuff about getting old. And Roger mentioned it with the hydroxychloroquine that it makes your eyes worse. So the other day, well, we're going to the mountains at the end of this month. I don't get to take 8 vacations a year like you guys. So that's a joke. Really looking forward to it. But up where we're going in northern New Mexico, there's been more bear sightings than I've ever seen. People uploading all this. There's a lot of bears. So I'm like, well, I'm going to have to go armed. And, you know, I want a sidearm. I'm definitely not going to carry a rifle around New Mexico when we're hiking around. So it's like, what do I have? And the pistol I have with the most punch is really the 40 caliber. And I don't really trust that, you know. I'm coming back to the 40 caliber with the eyesight. So it's like, well, this is a good excuse to buy a 44 Magnum pistol and cannon. So I went out and bought that pistol, and I haven't been to the range, guys, in a while. It's been well over a year, probably closer to 2. So I'm like, let me take all my pistols to the range and just, you know, put a few rounds down range with each of them. And I progressed started with the 9mm, because I never shot a 44 Magnum. Have you guys? You shot a 44 Magnum pistol? I had.
Yeah, a couple times.
Oh, yeah. So I'm like, well, I know it's going to kick. I know it's going to be jarring. So let me step up. So I went 9mm and then 40 caliber. And then I took the tiny little 38 special snub nose I had and put a few downrange at that. And then I picked up the 40 caliber, and dude, You guys have shot it, so you know what it's like. That it's jarring. It is jarring. I had a whole box. I was going to put a whole box downrange, 50 rounds. I stopped at 15, dude. I was like, dude, I'm not going to be able to move my hand tomorrow. So, but going back to that 40 caliber, it's the boat anchor Beretta. You know, it's the M9, but in a 40 caliber. It's a big, big pistol. Not very practical for an EDC. But dude, my eyes are so bad now, especially the far side of this, like the reading glasses stuff. I can't make out the sight posts on that Beretta. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I picked up the 9mm again. I was like, I can't really, I mean, it's better, you know, because I got that P365 XL, but it's not optimal. So guys, I'm going to have to go with the red dot on my EDC. I'm going to have to. I know, but I've never shot a red dot with a pistol. And one of the guys at the range, is a place here, I'll shout him out, here in Amarillo, called Carry On. It's a range and a gun shop. Those guys are knowledgeable, polite, good with the range safety. Great spot. But there's one kid, and he was like, hey, what were you shooting in there? You know, because most of the people, guys, who go into the gun range, come on, you know, most of them are, I'm not going to say loose cannons. At least they're there practicing, but probably a lot of unsafe acts. A lot of people, you know, no shot groups whatsoever, you know, and they see me bringing my thing in after each, you know, grouping and making marks and making notes, you know, and stuff like that. So this one kid wanted to talk to me afterwards, and I told him my problem. He pulled his out. He's like, dude, this red dot, come here and look at this target. And he showed me his grouping from the first time he fired it with just a bore sight. He's like, that's 100 rounds. And I was like, unbelievable. And it was just perfect, you know, center mass, you know, maybe one or two outside of it. But I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to learn how to use it, you know, and get comfortable with it. Dude, that sucks, man. That really sucks. Getting so old that it's like I'm less proficient with a pistol now.
What sucks is that red dot's going to be as much as the gun costs.
Yeah, he was saying that the one he had, I don't remember the brand. He said it was up around $300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like
get what you pay for with red dots, though, right?
Yeah, and they're like anything else, man. You can go, you know, you can go drop, you know, four numbers on them. You know, if you want to, you can, you know, or not. I would take a look at enclosed optics for a red dot. That way you don't have to worry about. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I the more and more I look at the enclosed ones, the more I like them. You know, it keeps the debris, you know, out of there, especially, you know, you got it in and out of a holster, and, you know, you're out in an austere environment with and stuff like that. It's just going to make it that much more better. And it makes it a little more rugged, as well. I told if I was going to northern New Mexico, or if I was going to the Bob, up in Montana, yeah, I would have a 10mm. I can't remember. It's the Glock 20. I think. Don't quote me on that.
It is.
Okay, with a chest holster that sits right here. That's what I care.
I went to 5 different places, and none of them were carrying that Glock 10mm. And there was I can't remember, like a CZ 10mm or something like that. It's like, I don't trust it. You know, because if you're talking a bear, you're serious. It needs to be something that is reliable, right?
Yes.
So it's like Glock 10mm, that's going to be reliable. So is a wheel gun, you know. So is a 45.
Yeah.
Less things can go wrong. But I could not find a Glock 10mm. Couldn't find one here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I could walk out in my community right now and find one, but I could order one, you know, off of Academy Sports and you know, have it, you know, pick it up when it comes in, which is what I've done for the last couple of guns I bought. I bought them from Academy over on the other side in Vietnam, and drove over there to pick it up. So
it's funny because my buddy Garrett, we may have him on the show. Josh was saying we should get him on the show. He needs to listen, so we'll shout him out real quick. That's the first thing he asked when I told it. He's been on a long trip, and he and his wife just got back, and I said, "Hey man, I got got a hand cannon, going up to New Mexico. And he said the same thing, Josh. He goes, why don't you just get a 10 millimeter? And I said, because I want a hand cannon like Dirty Harry. And he just goes, fair enough.
Yeah. Did you see the guy in Glacier who got killed by the bear?
No.
Here a couple weeks ago?
Mm-mm.
So dude goes and does a sunset hike, right? Because he wants to go to the top of the mountain to watch the sun go down. He's coming back down the mountain, back to wherever he was, his campsite or whatever. And he was coming through a bunch of deadfalls. And apparently he startled a grizzly. The grizzly attacked him. He fell down the side of the, mountain like 100 feet. He climbed back up. They said, it looked like he climbed back up, like 20 feet or so. The bear came down, bit his head, right? Crushed his skull, and then ran off and left. The bear didn't, eat on him. The bear didn't try and, stash him away for later. Yeah. And so they made the decision. They're not going to hunt down the bear and, and destroy it, because they're like, the bear wasn't hunting for humans. It wasn't hunting him for food. It bit him to the point where he was no longer a threat. And then, it got out of the area. So they're saying, yeah, man, he walked up on it. At dark, it was dark. He was headed back to his campsite and just startled it. And bear did what bears do.
When was that documentary about the bear guy?
In Alaska?
Where I watched another documentary on that about his death. And did you see that one?
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh, bro. They wouldn't play the audio on the documentary, and the guy did a pretty good job explaining you don't want to hear it, because bears are like, if you get killed by like a jungle cat, that cat will kill you first and then eat you. Oh, bears, no. They'll eat you while you're still alive.
Yeah. So
and that's what happened to that dude.
So what year was that? I can't remember what year it was. So having been stationed up there, bears was always a thing. And so it's like, hey man, you have to be bear aware when you go out. So when we go out into the, the Yukon training area, stuff like that, it was like, you have to be bear aware. We were playing golf on the Fort Wainwright golf course, and a bear walked across the fairway. Like, yeah, dude, you're riding your bike around Fort Wainwright. Like, it was not uncommon to have a moose in your yard. And so, like, you had to be legitimately aware of your surroundings for wildlife. And you had to watch a video on bear safety. And you're just like, dude, this thing is massive. And it's designed to just eat things. And so we heard they played the audio of that guy and his girlfriend. It was bad. Like, it was like watching the Nick Berg. It was like watching the Nick Berg video. You're like, I really wish I would not have seen that or heard that. I would have been perfectly fine not seeing the Nick Berg video or hearing that dude get eaten up.
Yeah. Oh God.
I generally try to keep myself out of positions where now it's different where, like, Josh was stationed up there. You don't have much of a choice. It kind of is what it is. But, I don't want to put myself in positions where the odds of me running into a bear are, high. I mean, did you see the one video that it's a brown bear, but he's got I guess they're on a fishing trip. He was on Fox News today, and there's the brown bear behind him that's hunting for salmon and the cub. He's got it on video, and it looks like 10 yards away, maybe 15 yards away or whatever. No. And he's I guess he's gone up there. They go up there like 40 or 50 times a year. They do charters and stuff like that. And he said, basically he couldn't do that with a grizzly because grizzlies just maul you to death. But I guess when it comes to food and salmon, he's like, the brown bears, they're so hyper focused on catching the salmon that you're just, as long as you don't, you're not an asshole, right? You could see him sitting there, and he's got his like iPhone, and the bear's behind him. He's like, just sit here and enjoy the moment. I'm like, you know what? If the odds that I'm going to run into one of those are about 20, 25% or greater, I'm probably not going.
Yeah. Well, the biggest mountain cat I ever saw in the wild was in Arizona, though, Roger. So the biggest mountain lion I've ever seen was down at Fort Huachuca on the base. It just ran in front of the road. And I've seen a few mountain lions in my day in the wild. This is the biggest one I've ever seen. It was huge. It was massive. So, man, you never know. Mountain lions up there.
Well, especially that part. And even here we see them every now and then. I mean, I think it was last year somebody was telling me like the amount of mountain lion, I guess they're mountain lions or whatever that we see down in the city. I mean, it's pretty high compared to a lot of, like, you wouldn't think it, but with all the building and this and that, they come down there, they look for food and they look for water just like anything else. You know, hell, I have like a wildlife refuge in my backyard now because I've got a little bunny rabbit that's moved in, which, you know, is great with the dogs because they can smell it everywhere. So now I've got, you know, between my tortoise, the road runner, a family of quail, and now a bunny rabbit living in my backyard. It's great.
It's good to have road runners, man. They kill snakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what? We've only seen one snake since I've been here.
Good.
10 years, one snake.
That's good. Well, you also have that big wall around your backyard. So that helps.
And the one snake we did see was out front. He was a little baby rattlesnake, dude. Underneath my my door, right between the door level or whatever. But other than that, dude, we don't see any snakes or anything like that around here. Not too much anyway.
We pulled one out of our pool skimmer the other day. But it was a little teeny baby, like maybe a little garter snake or something. But it was a legit snake, and it was like, well, there's a bigger one somewhere, mama somewhere. Our neighbor found a water moccasin curled up next to his AC unit, between his AC unit and his house here, a couple houses down from us. I think it was probably 2 years ago, year and a half ago. The cottonmouth. Rather, and it was like, ooh, okay, yeah, like that's a legit. I don't want that snake in my yard.
Yeah, I'm not a snake fan, and you know they're always like,
no.
well, it depends on the pattern. And I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna get close enough to the snake to know what the pattern is. And like, as to Luke's point, you know, my eyesight's so bad now. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna be as far away from that bad boy as I possibly can.
Well, I didn't talk on the podcast 100%. About our cat Grumpy getting into it with that bull snake. Out in the backyard.
That was legit.
Yeah. So, I mean, Michelle's here and I was at work and, she calls in a panic and she's, just yelling and screaming and everything. And he's trying to tell me, I was like, okay, calm down, and basically Grumpy was on the other side of our wall and he is full in a fight with a snake. And I was like, okay, describe the snake. She's trying to take pictures and everything. And she said, and I could kind of hear it, she said it was making a rattle sound. And I'm already thinking this cat is dead because she said it's already struck him like 3 or 4 times. I was like, well, he's dead. Like, it's a matter of time now. And, but I didn't remember that bull snakes hit their tails to the ground to sound like a rattlesnake. And if there's, brown grass or whatever, it'll sound like a rattle, not exactly like a rattlesnake. And they move like a rattlesnake and everything. And I have a video of them fighting it out. He got struck, I don't know how many times. But eventually he gave up. The snake went away and he just crashed out for like 48 hours. Because I don't know. I don't think bull snakes, I couldn't find where they carry any venom, but that fight took it out of him. But yeah, I mean, we got bull snakes, but the thing is with bull snakes, that's the smallest one, believe it or not, I've ever seen. Bull snakes out, on our farm ranch were 6-7 feet long. And we always celebrated when we saw a bull snake because they kill rattlesnakes. They kill them dead. I mean, they hunt rattlesnakes. They eat them. And so it's good that we have a bull snake here, not, because that means that they're taking care of the rodents and they're taking care of the rattlesnakes. So, yeah, that cat, man. And I was texting Josh. I was like, dude, send this to your buddies, man. See what they think. Because to me, it doesn't look like a rattlesnake. It didn't have that big head, that rattlesnakes have.
Yeah. You look at it, it didn't have that triangular head.
Yeah.
But that was a big, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's a big snake.
Yeah, it wasn't small. It was not small.
That was a good sized snake. And yeah. I bet Grumpy probably they're not venomous, but he probably, dude, after that fight, got that adrenaline dump, after that, man, you know how it is. You're just like, that dude was exhausted after that.
Yeah, he doesn't hunt many things that fight back.
It's I don't, when it comes to snakes, like, I won't just go out and I don't go out and kill them and stuff like that. If I see it, it's like, you stay over there, I'm gonna stay over here. I don't know if you're venomous or not. Growing up in Florida, chances are that snake, whichever snake you saw, is venomous. There's a pretty good chance it's venomous, whether it's a copperhead, a cottonmouth, a coral snake, a diamondback rattlesnake, a pygmy rattlesnake. Like, there's probably a pretty good chance that the snake you saw is venomous. So it's really just a good, best business practice. It's like, don't mess with any of them. You're going to be okay.
But if you saw one in your yard, you got a pretty decent sized yard, and you knew it was a rattlesnake, you'd go out there and kill it, right?
Yeah, because there's no way. One, it's like, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to let my, one of my pets or, one of my kids, because we got the pool and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to let it stay there. It's not staying. Right. If I know for a fact, it's like, hey, man, this is a rattlesnake. Or if I saw it's like, hey, this is for a fact a cottonmouth inside the fence backyard. Yeah, that's a wrap for that snake. I'm gonna
getting a shotgun.
I'll get my pistol,
okay,
or my 22, and go out and take care of it.
If let's say that you couldn't get to a firearm, what would you guys kill a snake with?
Shovel.
I did it with a shovel.
Yeah.
I have a flathead shovel and just pin his head down and lop the head off.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Yeah.
We used to kill them with hose, and I don't mean like hose like 50 Cent, like a garden
hose.
Yeah, like
you
a
flog
nice
them with hoses?
broad. What? Yeah,
you flog them.
I flog them to death. Waterboard them.
Especially, dude, Florida now, especially, and I'll be curious to hear, see if Joe, seeing, dude, especially Southern Florida now, you're not messing around, dude. There's boa constrictors out there, dude. There's 15, 20-foot boa constrictors out there now. You don't know when one's gonna, when one is gonna show up. It's like, this lady missing, her dog goes missing, and she's near a body of water. So you're in Florida. It's like, well, does it have an alligator in it? It's like, touch it. Is it wet? It's got a gator in it. So everybody thought it was a gator, right? No, man. She checked their security cam. The boa constrictor, massive one, came and ate up, little Toto.
How fast are those things?
I don't know. But I tell you right now, if I saw one of those in my yard, that thing's graveyard dead. I don't care. I was like, that, I'm not letting that get away. Like, that thing is going to be graveyard.
Well, I'm just looking at like all the stories you hear about it. We've all heard, seen the stuff on TV and the news or whatever. And that's just seems to me like, I don't picture them as incredibly fast. And that kind of goes back to your theory that if I ran into one in the wild, that's not in my yard. I'd be like, hey, you know what? You stay over there and I'm going to stay over here. And we're just going to let bygones be bygones and be done with it.
It would be the rec room scene from, it would be the rec room scene from the Trimmers. That's what it would be. If I saw, dude, I'm pulling out all my arsenal and I'm going to town.
Yeah. They're fast in the water. I know that. Like, if you're in the water with it, that's a bad place to be.
Well, it seems like it's kind of funny with Florida, with all the, are they boa constrictors? What are they? Pythons, right?
Pythons, yeah. Boa constrictors. So
remember when we were kids watching the $6 Million Man and, all these stuff, we really thought that quicksand was going to be a problem. Like, this is something I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. Bermuda Triangle, that's a problem, and, one of those that, it turns out quicksand and the Bermuda Triangle aren't really as big a problem as I thought they'd be when I was 6 years old. But remember boa constrictors and pythons, those were in a lot of movies too. And now in Florida, bro, it's a problem.
It's a legitimate problem. And I hate the fact, one note on Eastern Diamondbacks. So Eastern Diamondbacks are a protected species. You can't go around killing them. But the one thing Florida has not done, and I wish Ron DeSantis would do it, because I was like, dude, the second that they allow you to go and start killing pythons in the Everglades, like I'm going down there. And I'm paying however much the permit is, required, and I'm going and finding somebody with an airboat, and we are loading up all the ammo that we were talking about. Hey, I've got this much and that much. I'm taking a lot of that with me, and we are about to turn the Everglades into Mogadishu in 1993. Like we're gonna go ham, but you can't kill them. You've got to catch them alive and then give them to the States. Like, you want to go hunt for pythons? It's like that I have to grab with my hands. Nope. Sure don't. I'm good. No, thank you.
It seems I read, you saying it out loud is again shocking, but I think I read something because there's all these stories about, it's the week-long python hunt in Florida. And I guess in my head, I was thinking, you just go out and kill as many pythons, no bag limit, right? And then I read an article a few months ago that's like, no, they catch them, they catch them and then you kill them or something. And I'm like, what? In Florida? And then you say it out loud again. I'm like, that just makes no sense. If it truly is invasive and it's a problem, it needs to be open season. It needs to be 100%. Open season. No bag limit.
No season.
Year round, like wild hogs and coyotes. Well, coyotes, yeah. I'm not sure anymore, but wild hogs in Texas, it's like year round. It's open. It's a problem.
Is that why boas are coming back in Florida? Is it just like lack of predators, or what's bringing them back?
Well, it's lack of predators. Just an endless. I won't say endless because it's not an endless food supply, but an abundant food supply. Right, between raccoons and possums and cats and dogs and small deer, especially down in the Everglades. The deer in the Everglades, they're not that big. Like, they're big German shepherds. So, you get down and they even have deer in the Keys. They call them key deer, but bro, your dog is bigger than some of these damn deer. And it's a perfect meal.
Is that a form of red deer? Like, do you know what kind of deer those are?
I don't off the top of my head. They're like a pygmy.
Okay.
So if you go out, I think you find them on the eastern shore in Maryland, especially out in the the swampy areas. They're little like pygmy deer. They're like if Peter Dinklage was a deer. That was it's about what it would be. So, but you have an abundant food supply, and there's no natural predators except for really maybe gators. But even after a certain size, the pythons and boas, they eat the gators. Once they get a certain size, they found a couple of them with small-ish juvenile gators in them. So, even then you're like, damn, man, like gators, because gators don't have a natural predator outside of humans. They say, these things are showing up, and it's like, it's the war of the dinosaurs.
So what I read about the pythons is, in Florida in particular, if number one, like Josh said, no natural predators. Number two, like he said, abundant food supply. Number three, it's perfect reproduction area. Number four, it's just a habitat, fits just right. And number five, so why now? Why all this stuff? Because it's not native to the area. It's because people get them, buy them. Whether it's from overseas or sneak them in or whatever, they start growing. It's like, I can't deal with this. Let's just take it out to the swamp and release it. That started years ago, back in the 80s. And now it's become a problem. Get a bunch of drug dudes like Tony Montana. Oh, I got to have myself a python. Nope, this isn't working out. Let's go dump it in the swamp.
And now they're actually they've branched outside of the Everglades, so now they're north of Naples and a couple other places in Florida, and it's the perfect breeding ground. The environment is like it a perfect habitat for them. They've got a big food supply, and like they've decimated the food supply, right? So the small mammals, and so the Florida panther are having to start to venture out more and more to go find food because the pythons have destroyed their food supply. And so now back to you got panthers and fucking jungle cats running through neighborhoods, and little Johnny's out there on his bike, and next thing you know there's a scream and he's missing. It's a mess. but they don't let you. I'm telling you, if Florida would be like, hey, I tell you what, I give you $100 for every one you bring in, dude, I'd be like, we're going to go be in the Everglades. Hey man, we're going for a couple of months. But you got to incentivize people to, go find them. Just not no, you got to go catch them with your hands. Like, nope. No, thank you.
This story just came across X. I got to share it. So some dude in Wisconsin, you see these sheriffs, they're walking up, and the story is this dude in Wisconsin flew his personal helicopter. It's one of those cheapy, small, tiny helicopters, it is still enclosed. This dude flew his helicopter to Cabela's because the drive was too long, and he landed it in this parking lot kind of across from Cabela's. Sheriff's walking up and everything, and I'm expecting to read dudes arrested, violations, all this stuff. I'm like, what is this? I thought this was America. If you've got a helicopter, you should be able to fly it to Cabela's of all places. But sure enough, this dude, he landed safely. He was licensed. He complied with all FAA regulations. He talked to the deputies. They let him go. No violation, no arrest. I'm like, okay, in this Wisconsin, hey, we kind of live in a free country, kind of. You should be able to fly your helicopter to Cabela's.
I don't see why you couldn't. I mean, as long as you file your flight plans or whatever the heck that you got to do. I'm not a pilot, but I can see like a plane. I get it, but like a helicopter, hell yeah! If you got the room and you're following the laws, and why not?
Well,
I would.
We've got a neighborhood. I don't know, about a half mile from here, and it's a very wealthy neighborhood, like very wealthy. And some dude bought 2 lots, built a giant house. And he lands his helicopter on the other lot. You can hear him coming in sometimes. But the problem is, like, if he lived outside the city limits, he'd be fine. But if he's inside the city limits, you gotta comply with all this nonsense and all these city codes. So they're trying to strong arm this guy. No, it's not my neighborhood, believe me. But it kind of sucks, man. I mean, I don't think I would mind if the people across the cul-de-sac flew their helicopter in and landed behind the house, because I love helicopters. I think that's cool as hell. As long as they're not doing it at 3, 4 in the morning, Too many regulations, man. Too many regulations.
They're 100%. I told you about the golf cart thing. Like, it's a golf cart.
That's stupid. That's completely stupid.
Golf cart. I was a big dude when I was a kid. Like, I even thought it was draconian that you had to register your boat. Like, that's
it is.
Just
it is.
Like, why do I have to? Dude, you go by, we had we kept my uncle's. He had a little, like a little 12-foot John boat that he had, fixed up. But he was in the Marine Corps. And so he was, stationed here, yonder, and there. So he just left the boat at our house, and he, told my dad, like, feel free to use it, whenever you want. So we went on that. Dad built a boat on the carport. Like, he built his own boat on the carport, and we used it for years. It was like he built that thing on the carport, but before he could put it in the water, he had to go register it and title it. And I was like, what in tarnation? Like, what is this crap? And so now, here.
Is it the HOA that's doing it?
No, it's the village council.
What's the difference? It's like the city council?
Yeah. It's the city council, but it's the village, right? Because, they're bougie and they're all, multi-millionaires. But yeah, you have to register, if you want to drive a golf cart, because a lot of people just drive their golf carts over to the golf, pick your golf course. There's, a ton of them here. And so they're like, it's a mile down the road from my house. Like, I'm not driving my car there and then renting a golf cart. I have a golf cart. So they just drive their golf cart, through the neighborhood to the golf course. And now they're saying, no, can't have them on the street. They have to be registered, And so you're going to have to register your golf cart with basically the city, have a little registration sticker on it, like your car. And it's like, what? Like, that's crazy.
Let me ask you this.
That's absolutely crazy.
So when I lived in Ransom Canyon, our HOA, obviously, if you have a golf cart, you got to register it with the HOA, and there's a fee. It's like $25 or something like that. And then all it is a money-making thing. That's a tax. because all these old people,
100%.
whatever. So when we were in Ransom Canyon, though, they called it a golf cart community. It was a property owners association, but the roads were still city roads, right?
Yep.
And according to be in compliance with Texas law, first of all, the speed limit's got to be 25 in Texas if you're going to drive golf carts on them, right? That's to slow down the other traffic. But in order for you to be in compliance with Texas law and drive golf carts on a public road, you have to register them. They have to be registered. And that's just the state law, basically. Or you're going to have to close down your community and you take care of your own streets, which is still, I'm not saying that's better, but is it a situation like that where they've got to be in compliance with something, or are they just using it as a revenue device?
Possibly. Right. So possibly. And I don't, I didn't dig really deep into it because I don't own a golf cart, but I think it's draconian. And I'm actually going to go to the council meeting and make my voice heard.
Thanks.
But even then, even if it is a state, okay, then why am I registering it with the city and not the state?
Yeah.
Right. So, but it's specifically, you have to register it and you have to have the village sticker. So that, to me, that tells me that's not a state thing.
Tax.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's like, we just want to make more money. And you're like, you really, shit like that drives me nuts. It's the same thing with 4-wheelers. I've seen it to where, you got to have your 4-wheeler, registered. When we were in Alaska, if you had a snow machine, you had to have it registered. Even if you didn't take it on any state or, city maintained road, you could drive it in the ditch. Guess what? That thing left your property. It had to be registered.
Oh, a snowmobile.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant a snow remover. I was like, that's ridiculous.
No, a snow machine. What's crazy in Alaska? You say snowmobile, nobody knows what you're talking about. They're like, what?
It's a snow machine.
I was like, that's what I always call it. I was like, it's a snowmobile, and they're like, it's a snow machine. I was like, no, snow machines make snow.
So
they're like, we're Alaskans, you're dumb.
A road mobile or a road machine.
Road machine. Yeah.
So there's 2 of the 3 pours on this podcast don't have a golf cart, but somebody does.
I don't have.
Well, you know what? This goes to my point. What Josh is saying. It's just a tax. Because
that's all it is.
Like when I bought my golf cart, they asked, "Do you want it to be street legal and register? You have to title it, so that's fine. It's like $10, whatever it was. But they're like, do you want it to be street legal or not? And then, you can go that route. But I don't have our neighbor, like they shouldn't care. Like my neighborhood doesn't give a shit. Like, hey man, you want to go out and if you get caught, you get a ticket riding it down Ellsworth or whatever. Well, that's on you. And that's why it's just a straight tax, because otherwise, your village council just wouldn't care. I mean, am I going to post every single law, city and state law that you might break? Of course not. It's like, hey, you take your chances when you go out and do whatever it is that you're going to do. But here, as long as we stay like in our neighborhood or our little, 10, 12, 20 blocks, whatever. Now, if I take this thing down to the Costco or something like that, yeah, they might have. But even then, I mean, I've got sidewalks and stuff. You just, they don't want you taking this thing on Highway 60, right? And here I am going, 14 miles an hour in the slow lane or whatever on the interstate, because it is Arizona and people will do that. But because I think even like, is it Surprise? I think it might be Surprise. They actually pitch themselves as a golf cart city, like everywhere there. You drive your golf cart around town or, whatever it is.
Yeah. My father-in-law lived in it. My father-in-law lived in a neighborhood up in Raleigh, and it was a golf cart community. Even they had a big shopping center on the edge of the neighborhood. It had, Harris Teeter and, some little restaurants and Starbucks and all that stuff. And they had parking spots specifically for golf carts.
Yeah.
Right. And so you rode your golf cart through the neighborhood. What was crazy though, theirs was not registered. No one in their neighborhood had to register their golf carts, but they were driving them on. Now, granted, that may have been their HOA, the neighborhood they lived in. They may have, said, hey, we're, these are private roads and, we allow it. So it goes back to like, I think I talked about it last time. So our HOA, we don't own the roads in our neighborhood. We turn those over to the state. Right. So they are state maintained. And some people are like, no, we want to keep them private. And it was like, okay, So your HOA dues are going to go up because that means we have to maintain them, and maintaining roads is very expensive. All right. So this is about what your dues are going to be versus what you pay now. And all of a sudden everybody's like, turn that shit over to the state. You know, and so we turned over to the state. Now, you know, you got kids that have e-bikes in the neighborhood, and you see them out here, you know, during the day. This, you know, school's not back in yet. And they're zipping through the neighborhood during the day. They're all wearing helmets, right? And they're all, you know, they're all riding together. It's like a little gang of them. It's like 5. And I don't care, right? It's like, I wish I had one of those, because I'd be out there riding with you. Because I think those little things are cool as hell. And, you know, but now we've had people complain, and we had one guy, he called the county sheriff department and was like, hey, there's kids out here violating the law. Those e-bikes aren't registered, and they're riding them on state roads, and they're not old enough. So like, these kids are probably like like 8th grade. Some of them, maybe the oldest, maybe like 10th grade. And, you know, they're like, oh, state maintained roads, you know, it's illegal, and they have to be registered. You have to have a driver's license, shit like that. It's like, good grief. Okay. It's like, these are just kids riding through a neighborhood. They're being safe about it. They're not being crazy. They're not riding through people's yards. They're not tearing anything up. And you guys want to call the sheriffs on them. Like, just the Karens, the absolute Karens.
Well, so I want to circle back to guns real quick and transition into to do a little segue into something else that kind of applies to what we're talking about, kind of loosely applies to what we're talking about now. So talking about the gun, I got the 44 Magnum. I went and got it on Friday during lunch, and I come back to the office, and there's a person that work with in the office, like executive admin type person. And she's great. She's going to be a listener. But she's what I would call a true, like, independent swing voter. Okay. And it's kind of hard to nail her down. She's not right. She's not left. She holds, you know, views in both camps, you know, and it's hilarious talking to her, you know, not whatever. I'll leave it at that. So I came in today. You guys are going to love this. I came in today and I said, hey man, I shot that pistol I got on Friday. And it, you know, I told her the story. She's like, oh, okay. And she goes, you know, my son, he's a younger kid. I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9. He goes, he's real. He likes guns. And I don't know what to think about that. You know, makes me a little uncomfortable. I was like, why? I was into guns at that age. She goes, why? And I said, well, because I wanted to kill Soviets, you know? And she looks at me and she goes, did you grow up in a home? She was totally serious. And I was like, what? Because I wanted to kill commies? No, I didn't grow up in a home. I grew up a red-blooded American. You got to remember, this was the early 1980s, man. And she's looking at me because she's younger, obviously. No idea what I'm talking about. Never seen Red Dawn, all this stuff. And like, somebody who's our age and grew up like we did. And she goes, well, what kind of home did you? Because there must be something wrong with me if I want to kill Soviets, right? So she's trying to figure it out. And I'm like, no, dude, came up in a nuclear family, you know, not a broken home, you know, red-blooded American kid. And it just struck me as hilarious that there must be something damaged about me. Grew up in a home because number one, I like guns, and number two, I want to kill commies. And she's like, yeah, but you know, why do you want to kill commies? I was like, well, you know, that's a human. I was like, nope. Communists are not real people. They're not people. They're not humans. And she looks at me like her eyes got wide. And I'm like, no, they're not human beings. They're not real people. You know, they don't count. They're lower than, and I didn't even get into some other stuff, but yeah, it was shocking. And I would say, I don't know how old she is. I don't want to, if she's listening, but she's significantly younger than us. Put it that way, by at least 2 decades, at least.
Well, don't tell her what my solution for Somalia is.
Yeah. we said we're going to talk about commies. We said it in the text, at least. You know, we got DSA, and let's be real clear. I think that the three of us all agree there's very little difference, if any at all, between a socialist and a communist. They're basically the same thing.
100%.
They are the same thing because it's the natural. Communism is the natural end state from socialism. It just is, and a lot of the theory aligns perfectly. It just aligns perfectly. And I didn't really prepare to get in, to do a deep dive on communism itself. So maybe we keep it at, maybe kick it to Roger on this one. Keep it at the at the candidates that are running right now, and the steam that they're gathering with your Hassan Pikers. And for those of you guys who don't know, Hassan Piker has one of the biggest podcasts in America. He is an avowed, basically he's a communist. Like, the guy praises Mao Zedong. He dresses like Mao Zedong. Again, I think he spoke at like a Harvard commencement or something and actually quoted Mao on a number of occasions. It's like, you've got not just him, he's not running for any office, but he is underwriting all the, Mamdani, he and Mayor Mamdani are real good friends. You've got that El Said, that's a whole other thing. That's more of a Muslim thing than a communist thing. And Roger, how much should we be worrying about? How much should we be worrying about this gaining of momentum of the DSA, along with some of the younger generation not understanding why I want to kill communists since the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore? Number one, how much should we be worried about that, Gen Xers? And number two, how much should like the Democrat Party be worried about this, if at all?
I'd say both should be very worried about it. One, they're feeding off what one of the major issues is going to be in the midterms is affordability, right? And we talk about this in our text all the time. You look at the price of gas, price of houses, interest rates, things like that. And you've got this young adult generation that is, it's the give me now. Why can't I walk out of my parents' home and have the exact same thing? So they're feeding off of that stuff. What ends up scaring me with this is that you end up with an entire generation that is that way, right? It's different if it's just like handpicked onesies, twosies here and there. And I guess we'll see at the midterms when you look at to more of your traditional blue states. But, I pulled up the DSA, right? So here's their platform. And the lady, I would tell you this, we texted this the other day. The co-chair was on Fox News, and Martha McCallum, I think it was Martha McCallum, might've been Heather Brain, but anyway, one of them was asking her questions directly, and she came right out and she was very clear, but this is their platform, freedom to flourish, which means recreation, learning, and social spaces accessible to all, establish paid family leave for all workers, 32 hours a work week, full pay, benefits, living minimum wage, whatever that is, free quality public education from pre-K to college, and cancel all student debt. Healthcare for all. Okay. We know that. Single payer system, housing for all, reparations, get rid of the prisons, the Green New Deal, get rid of the DOW, free Palestine, end blockades, abolish ICE. Right? Those are their major party platforms, and none of those are, dude. It's fairy tale land. Like, no country can exist with any of those things ever. Right? That's the reality of it. But what they're doing is they're making their money through the youth, the young adults now that are like, hey, you know what? You can't afford a house because of the current two-party system. You can't find a good job because of the current two-party system. You can't afford groceries because of the current two-party system. And that's what they're taking advantage of. And that's where the energy comes in. And when you look at the political process behind all that, that's where the money is. That's why you had Carville come out and say, if Hassan Piker is going to be the face of the Democratic Party, then I'm out. And you've even got Bill Maher that's like, hey, if DSA is taking over, then my vote is up to whoever the best candidate is. You're pushing, away a lot of the, center left Democrats are like, yeah, this is just insane. But the youth aren't looking at any of this stuff that I just read. All they're hearing is, well, you're going to make gas cheaper. You're going to make my groceries cheaper. And I get a free house and I get, endless PTO every year. That's what they hear. And it's the give me free, right? That's the Democrat playbook. And that's the problem is that's been the Democrat playbook for decades is how much for free can I give to the American citizen? Because once I get them on the government tit, you never get them off.
Yeah, I agree with Roger. They are a problem. I don't think they're going to be a problem for the 2028 election. But to, your point, Luke, you've got this, that's a great vignette. You have this, young lady who's, 2 decades younger than us. She didn't grow up on Red Dawn, and she didn't grow up on the Fulda Gap, and she didn't grow up with the Big Red Horde, and she's like, well, why is communism so bad? Why do you hate communists so much? And it's she is a prime candidate for them to recruit, and be one of their foot soldiers. And I saw James Carville come out on the Hassan Piker thing, and he was like, no, I'm not hopping on that board. And, I don't think there's enough national public support for them to be a problem in 2028. I do think they're going to be a problem after that, though. As the old guard, eventually, just kind of ages out, and goes on. But the whole socialist thing, I think now, I've said it for a while, Democrats are communist, and they have legitimate, and people laugh, but dude, they are starting as a party to actually embrace it. And anybody who's read anything on, classical Marxist theory knows that socialism is nothing more than the transitional stage from between socialism and communism. That the desired end state of socialism is communism. That's from them. That's from Marx himself. So, for anybody listening out there, all 7 of you, a couple of you probably read Marx. If you haven't read Marx, go read them.
Right? If they read Marx, they're not watching us. Just let you know that.
Well, I read it. Dude, if you haven't read it, you need to go read it. You have to understand the mindset of the adversary, and that's a whole. And that's the other thing that goes back to, and I've said it a couple of times, and I'll continue to say it. I don't have anything in common with my political opponents. There's no common ground for me to discuss with them. If you're coming out and you're the DSA and you're like, no, I'm embracing communist there, then I have nothing to negotiate with you. That's it. I don't. So you are now my adversary. You're now my sworn enemy, and that's just all there is.
Yeah, it's it's coming up on a tipping point. You said it's not going to be a problem in 2026, maybe 2028, and going forward 2032, right? I hear that correctly?
I say 2030, and then the presidential 2032. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to have more influence by then.
I don't disagree. As things stand right now, a lot of things can change, of course, but sure. It is, I wouldn't say canary in the coal mine, but kind of like that. It's, the vignette we're talking about, so many people just don't understand, and they don't know the theory. They just know, well, the current system isn't working for me now. So if it's between, President Mamdani and, President Rubio or whatever, I wasn't doing so well, I'm going to try something new. And they just don't. It's not just that our side doesn't understand.
So pulling up real quick off of Claude, likely winners, safe / uncontested Democratic seats. They've got 3 DSA members that are going to win House seats. Nobody's favored to win in the Senate. But I think when you look at what's scary about it is, and finally you've got folks like, you've got the old guard coming out like Carville and those guys that are saying, hey man, we can't have these people in our tent and this and that. But Senate leadership and House leadership isn't, right? They are willingly accepting of these folks. And I've heard Fox say it a couple times that it's the, you let them in your tent, well, they're destroying your tent. Right. And that's the problem is you've got Schumer and you've got Hakeem that are they're going along with them. They're endorsing these folks. And it's like, you're inviting this cancer in, and we talk about it before, the difference. That's why they're using DSA, right? Because you can't come out and say, well, one, there's laws against communists holding office and things like that. So they use that DSA, name. Okay. You just change it. And we know, by the way, for a fact, I think it was released last week, that there is foreign influence in that as well, right? There's a lot of money coming in there, and, let's throw the socialism idea around or whatever. And what they're doing is they're looking at, there's a difference between socialism and social programs. And we've talked about this before ad nauseum, but
yep.
Social programs are there to help folks that need it, right? Versus socialism, where the government essentially is going to end up controlling all your means of production, your economic production, your economic inputs and outputs. The only way they're able to get away with it right now, and it'll be curious to see the midterm see how it shakes out, is when you look at like Mamdani. Okay, he is very similar to Arizona and our two senators and governor. We have two of the worst senators in the Senate, and we've got one of the worst governors in the state. The problem is the GOP ran candidates that were worse than the folks that got elected. And that's what happened with Mamdani in New York, right? I mean, he ran against Adams and Cuomo. You couldn't have found two other people. And who was the guy with the red beret, the conservative? But you couldn't have found two people that were worse candidates to run. And so then if you're Mamdani, okay, you get up and you don't say you're a communist. You don't read all this platform. You just say, hey, man, I'm going to open up grocery stores for everybody. You'll get your food for free. We're going to rent control. We're going to tax the rich. That's what they do, right? And that younger generation, especially when you look at the voter turnout, you fire those people up and say, hey, we want to change. We want affordability or whatever it is. And that's who turns out. To Luke's point, and I know I'm kind of straying off here a little bit. Luke, you were talking about your last election, your town. You had like 20 some odd % turnout. And it was lower than that.
Way lower.
Crazy, dude, during our town elections, our primaries are essentially the election because the way they moved the calendar. I think we only had like 24% turnout. And when you look at a lot of these other places, all your turnout is in the low 20s. Especially when you look at your midterms, there's generally not a lot of excitement and electricity. But the base, for the DSA, these young adults that are bitching and complaining about not being able to afford anything, which is going to be a messaging problem for the GOP. I'll tell you this midterm and going into the next presidential, like that is because people know what they're paying for gas. They know what they're paying for houses, this and that. And there's an issue there. And at the end of the day, you better come up with a messaging solution for that, which means that you got to start solving those problems. Right. But that's where the excitement is coming from, is the DSA. And those are a lot of the folks that are turning out. So I think when you look at DSA candidates that are favored to win, they are picking and choosing locations where they will run unopposed, or the other candidates and selections are so bad that they're guaranteed to win. Rashida Tlaib's going to run. Okay. She's going to win, heavily favored. Chris Rabb is running unopposed, and Malak Kiros, who beat the 29-year incumbent. It's a strong Democrat, or it's a Democrat stronghold. He beat the incumbent. So guess what? You're walking into the House. So they're being pretty smart about, as far as, using their, strategery, quote unquote, right, to pick and choose these places where they can run and say, hey, here's where we can win. We just win the primary here, and we're going to walk into the House.
So let me ask Josh, what do you think? What do you think the percentage is of folks between the age of 18 and 30? What do you think the percentage is of those folks that could not explain to you? No, that could explain to you why Mamdani's grocery store in New York City is not going to work. And then I'll let you drop the bomb on the ID at the grocery store.
I honestly, between those age groups, between the age range that you laid out, I would say probably less than 20%.
Oh yeah, that's being generous. Yeah, I agree.
I'd say less than 20% can actually tell you why it's going to fail.
Or why it's not going to work as intended, because it could be successful, but it's going to be heavily government subsidized, and even then it will still fail, especially if they open more of them.
I was going to say, one, you have to define success, right? Because you're in one of the richest cities in the world, so they got, like you just said, they could just, hey, it's heavily 100% government subsidized, so they just continue throwing tax money at it, right? I mean, that's what they'll consider as being a success.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. You got to define what success means. When it came out today, even Elon Musk, tweeted about this, and I started laughing, like I was cackling, right? I thought it was hilarious. At a press conference, Mamdani walked off. He let a staffer answer that question because he was not going to give him the soundbite. Because as soon as they asked it, he was like, you saw it on his face too. He was like, oh shit. they are going to require identification, photo ID, to be shown to use the government grocery store in New York. And they asked them, they're like, why? They're like, why? Like, why does he have to have it? Why does somebody have to have an ID? And this staffer like stumbled through the answer one because he knew. He automatically knew, and they were answering the question. They were like, crap. They're like, this is going to be such a great soundbite for the, for the right. But ultimately, it was so people who don't live here can't come in and buy up all the cheap eggs. Essentially, what it's like, so people from New Jersey can't drive across the Verrazano and come get our subsidized eggs and vegetables. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. You want to make sure that the people using the services available actually belong here and live here. Okay. It was rich. Like, it was rich. It was like it's the best. Not that it matters. Not that it's going to change anything. But it was funny because, some of the talking heads on X got themselves in a pickle because they were like, well, voting is a constitutional right and blah, blah. And it was like, well, here's your old tweet from, 10 years ago that food is a human right. Right. So it's like, well, okay. And to see the mental contortion that they had to twist themselves into to, respond and defend that was pretty amazing.
Unbelievable. And that's what they'll do though, right? They'll just keep throwing money at these grocery stores, the tax dollars. And that's where they get the energy from. That's where they get their money from. Is like, hey, you tens of thousands of youth that can't afford, young adults that can't afford groceries. Well, we're just going to tax the millionaires and tax the billionaires. And to them, success is going to be this grocery store staying open. And they'll just continue. I forget what it was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were talking about the cost of running that grocery store is going to be like 3 or 4 times the cost of running a Costco.
Holy cow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to pull that up. I don't know if it was like Goldwater research, somebody like that. I'm gonna have to pull that up, but it was supposed to be like 3 or 4 times the amount of running a Costco. That's how much, because that's the other thing they're going to do, right? Well, who's going to staff these places? Hey, well, we got to hire 100 employees. Now I'm curious, what are they going to pay these employees? Are they going to pay them minimum wage? Or are they going to pay them $25, $30 an hour? Probably, because it's just going to all be tax dollars. I mean, why not?
Yeah. No, you're right. It's going to be interesting to watch, and it's going to be interesting to see the mental gymnastics that are done to justify why it failed, but it fails, because it will fail eventually, especially if they try and scale it, because that's the thing. Communism doesn't scale. All right, it doesn't. So, and that's where people conflate, everything wrong. They're like, well, your neighbor is taking care of you. Your neighbor is, checking in on you and making food for you and stuff like that. Or like, that's socialism. It's like, okay, one, it's not. You're an idiot. But programs like that, they just don't scale.
No, they don't.
So it'll fail. And it's gonna be glorious to watch. Especially when you go in there to get your discounted food and the shelves are bare. Because where are they going to buy that stuff from at discounted rates?
So, Roger, I these guys are typing stuff in the chat that I'm not sure that we should put on them.
Yeah, you don't read any of that. No, you don't. Read any of that.
Yeah. But I'll say this, that we say lately, some of the stuff we've been putting in the chat, it's like, okay, the three of us can never run for office, because somebody is going to come to Roger. If I ran for office, and somebody's going to come to Roger and says like, hey, I will give you $10 million if you'll just release just 2 days of y'all's chat.
It wouldn't have to be that much.
I know. But Roger said
I'd probably just volunteer it. I'd get on X, and one of these people are like, hit me up, DM me at whatever.
So
and just know that I'll give you some, Luke.
There you
Roger
go.
mentioned the word Goldwater came out of Roger's mouth, and I'm like, dude, how different would the world be if Barry Goldwater would have beat Lyndon Johnson in 1964? The world would be a different place. It's crazy to think about because you go back and look at Goldwater's, his platform, his record, the fact that Ronald Reagan, his famous speech at the convention. It's like it would have been a different place. And what I really like lately is as the kids say, the Nixon maxing that's going on lately. Have you guys noticed that? The people are finally starting to wake up. It's like, oh wait, number one, Richard Nixon got a raw deal. Number one, he was a great president, the highest approval ratings in history before the Watergate thing. And number two, he was absolutely set up on Watergate. Absolutely set up. 100%. And people are finally waking up to that. It's like, you know what? Nixon was actually pretty good. So I want to make it I want to make this next topic good faith. I wouldn't even call it a debate. But Josh and I think, we go back and forth, and Roger too, in the text, and we disagree in the text, but I think that overall we actually agree on these things. And what I'm going to talk about now is immigration deportation. Because, Josh, I agree with you. I agree with you that just deport everyone. Okay. But the problem comes up when I say that's impossible. I don't mean it like it can't be done. But it would, under our current laws, it would be almost impossible. And if we even go with a number of 10 million illegals, which is probably far higher than that, but let's just go with 10 million. Okay. With our current laws, you're talking anywhere from 12 years to 36 years, even if ICE and ERO had I'm okay. As long as we're on the same page, like even if ICE and ERO somehow knew where all of them were right now, you're talking 12 years, and that's extremely aggressive. And it's two things under our current laws and our current manning. Okay, because immigration judges, there's anywhere from 600 to 700 at any given time in the United States. And in order to deport them, they have to go through a hearing. They have to. The backlog under the current system is 3.2 million. Backlog. 3.2 million. It's insane. Like if they're operating 24/7, even with the school buses, because I looked at that too. Even, you pull out school buses, you still only got about 650 federal immigration judges and staff to support them. And you've only got, 70,000 beds available max. And the immigration, like once they roll them up on an extremely aggressive timeline, 30 days. But typically the hold on these people is between 30 and 90 days. In some cases, they're more complex than others. I've laid out on this podcast a pretty complex case in the past where it's like, yeah, this probably does need to be looked at because this person has lived here their entire life and didn't actually know they were illegal until they got rolled up. Married an American, had a driver's license, flew all over the states, never left, contributed positively to the community, had their own shop, paid taxes, all that stuff, even had a social security number. And it's like, okay, so some cases definitely need to be looked at, in my opinion. Where we agree is, yes, something's got to be done, but like realistically, what can be done? And that's my question for you. Like, realistically, what do we do? And before I kick it to you, I want to say this. I do think that a very aggressive strategy starting out would be good because what does that eliminate? That eliminates a pull factor. And maybe at that point, you got people self-deporting at that point. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. But it's just like, I don't mean to denigrate you when I say it's impossible, or it's just like, what's realistic? Because there are only so many ICE and ERO agents. There are only so many immigration judges, and there's only so much space, you know?
So I don't disagree that it's challenging. I hate to hear the word impossible when it comes to most things, right? Everybody told Roger, I forget his last name, that it was impossible to run a sub 5-minute mile. And
Roger Barris.
Okay, yeah. Like, it was impossible. What did he do? He was like, okay, he went out and did it. And somebody just ran a sub 4-minute mile. Insane. Like, it's absolutely insane. But somebody told them at some point that that's impossible, right? Now, the timeline to get it done is one of the things that makes it very challenging because, again, we talk about this all the time. We think in, policy, domestic and foreign policy, in 4 to 8 year increments, right? So, yes, it would take, even if we knew, like you said, even if we knew that somebody, where they were right now today, being able to get to them, police them up, get them in front of a judge, even using the Rudy Giuliani, school bus, judge TTP. Yeah, it would take some time. So what realistic can be done? Well, like you said, one, securing the border, right? You secure the border, you shut it down. There's no new immigration, period. I would honestly, there would be a moratorium on immigration for the next 10 years. All right. And if I was Trump, I would have put a moratorium on immigration the day I took office. That would have happened. Right. So again, you're eliminating those pull factors because, like you said, previously on here, it's a policy problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's largely a policy problem. And I agree with that. I agree wholeheartedly with that. So you eliminate, guess what? Now you're going to remain in Mexico again. Right, you're eliminating all those pull factors, and by doing that, I don't know what the numbers are. I haven't looked them up. I do follow what's his name, former Border Patrol chief on X, Pavino, something like that.
I can see his face.
Yeah. So following him, and he was talking about the self deportation numbers, and he gave kind of a ballpark figure, and it's a couple 100,000 easy. And so it's like, okay, that's it's not even a dent, but it's a start because you eliminated a bunch of pull factors and you have people now who are worried. They're like, I don't want to get rolled up, so I'm just going to leave. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Great. Get out of here. When you said that about like the cases, my opinion is I don't care if you've been here for a week, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, 15 years. If you're here legally, you got to go home, wherever that is. You've been here for 20 years, never got in trouble, worked, you got to go home.
Would you agree, though? Would you agree that and I'm talking very, very few cases, that there are some cases where, you know what? Yeah, you've been here. You got to go back. You got to hire an immigration attorney. And we got to streamline the process. You got to go back. You got to wait for a certain amount of time because that's what happens. It does happen where people will self-deport and they'll actually go through the process to get back here legally. It happens. It just takes a while. Like, I want to be clear. I'm kind of stepping on you here, but I'm not against somebody self-deporting, going through the correct process, coming back, and continuing to contribute to society. I have no problem with that.
I have zero issue with that.
Yeah.
I have zero issue with that, right? So you secure the border. The other big thing is the companies, right? When I show up to your factory and I have to arrest a bunch of illegal aliens in your factory, guess who I'm arresting too? You. You're getting arrested too, right? The fact that they went in and hauled people out of factories and plants and farms and stuff like that, but the employer didn't get arrested is complete BS. You need to arrest them too. And I'm going to fine you. I'm going to fine you so much that you're probably not going to have, you're probably not going to be a manager of anything after that, because you're going to be destitute, because I'm going to find the shit out of you, right? The visa overstays. In theory, we know who these people are, especially like the students, right? You have a student visa, you have a tourist visa, whatever. In theory, we should know where you are. And I get a lot of times you don't, because they come in, they overstay their, and then they disappear into the woodwork. But I have a starting point, and if I have to deputize a whole bunch of people to do that, well, guess what? Because the job market sucks right now. Separate note. The job market sucks right now, like it does. So guess what? Hey, man, all you guys who are, sitting around, like, hey, doing podcasts instead of going to therapy. Well, guess what? You want to be a deputy U.S. Marshal? I'm going to deputize you. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to hunt down illegal aliens. Here's the last known location. Get to it. All right. And then, again, you have to, I don't care how long you've been here, you got to go. You can absolutely go and then get back, get in line to come over here and do it the right way. And while I'm doing all this, we're fixing our immigration system, because our immigration system is completely broken. It should not take somebody years to apply and get here. Like, that's crazy. And it's merit based. It's not anybody who wants to come here. It's, are you going to be a productive member of society? Do you have what we need? Right? Do you have the skills that we need? I have no problem with, Juan the carpenter, bringing his carpentry skills over here, because God knows, like one of our listeners said, we have enough Willow, the, transgender barista, with $100,000 in student loans, but we don't need any more of those. Right.
You said something really interesting there. It triggered something. It's like, yes, 100%. So if you are going to bring a bunch of Indian, not fry bread Indians over here, and they're going to work IT on what is that visa called? The something for whatever, the visa, the work visa, right? When I went to work in the private sector, they had to do a market analysis on how much I was going to make. And I'm like, oh, a market analysis, what's that? So I did some research, and the market analysis is, okay, what does somebody with this skill set, what should they be paid in this company? What I didn't learn until much later was the IRS makes you do that. In other words, I can't hire Roger. Like, if I won the lottery, the $1 billion lottery, I can't hire Roger to manage, my savings account and pay him $350,000 a year just to watch my savings account and check on it once a day. Can't do that. That's illegal. You can get busted for that. So how about this also? Piggybacking on what you're saying, Josh, it's like when you bring H-1B, that's what it is. You bring an H-1B over here, work in IT, right? You do a market analysis on, can that person make as much as what the market is saying? In other words, you can't just bring this person in here and undercut the market by $30,000 a year just so your corporation can save money. This person's got to be competitive against the market, and you have to pay him or her what the market rate is. It makes sense, right? Why are we not doing that? Roger, did I tell you the story when I was at DHS? Yes, 100-year boards. Like I said. Did I tell you the story, Roger, when I was at DHS about the Chinese girl who had overstayed her visa? Did I? Okay, I'll tell it quick. So this girl rolled into one of the facilities. She had been rolled up in one of your favorite. She would have never been rolled up if Roger had his way, because she was driving. This was in El Paso. She came to El Paso sector. And she rolled through one of the border checkpoints that was like, 12 miles inside the border. They checked her papers. Well, she had a driver's license. She gave them a driver's license. She was on her way to White Sands with a purebred English bulldog to go dune surfing, where they dune surf down the dunes. She spoke pretty good English, really good English, actually. And they checked her driver's license, like, whoops, you're here illegally. So they take her down to the facility to be, to start the removal proceedings. Now we see a Chinese person come in like her, who's been here for a while. It's like, we're going to want to talk to this person. So here's the down and dirty. This person came here on a student visa. They went to New York State, went to school for a few months, and then moved to San Francisco. And then basically hooked up with a sugar daddy. And she's been living here for 10 years off her sugar daddy, taking trips. She had a California driver's license. She had taken multiple trips on airplanes to Alaska, to Florida. She was kind of like an adventure person. She liked to do the skydiving and all this stuff. So her sugar daddy hooked her up good. Oh, and the car that she got rolled up in was $150,000 automobile. It was a G-Wagon with probably an $8,000 dog. And she was so confused. She's like, I don't understand. It's like, why am I going to be deported? I've been here for 10 years. I don't get this. And, she had been here for that long and got through the system. She just never left the United States. But then she rolled through one of those checkpoints. And this was during the Biden time, by the way, not Trump. And yeah, she was going to be removed. And it was crazy that she got through all that time. She could go anywhere she wanted. She lived a better life than all three of us. Maybe.
Probably.
But I asked her, and I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I was like, so you're probably going to go back to China. How do you feel about that? And she's like, it's all right. And I'm like, okay, so you don't have any fear at all. And she's like, no, not really. I'll hook up with my family again. It'll be all right. It's insane. So people like that are here. And it's like, how? It's twisted.
Because the system's
broken.
Go. Yeah, the system's broken, and Josh made some pretty valid points that, it's got to start with your policies, right? I mean, you talk about, and he hit it on the head. When they bust that factory owner or whatever it is, and that's got all these illegals, like that guy needs to go to prison. And nobody likes the short-term fallout from it, but because here's what happens, and I pulled this up off Claude. So when you look at illegals, they make up a large portion of the workforce in agriculture, construction, meat packing, hospitality, elder care, and other physically demanding low-wage sectors, right? So the short term is, well, if we get rid of all these people, who's going to do these jobs? Well, one of the reasons why those jobs pay so low, other than they can because they're illegals, is because the labor pool is not tight enough. And these same people that are like, well, we need better wages. Well, that's actually how you're going to increase those wages, right? You increase those wages. And it doesn't happen immediately, but it happens down the road by getting rid of the illegals that are doing those jobs now. It tightens up that labor market and causes wages to go up naturally, right? But you've got to start enforcing it, one, with the border, like Josh mentioned. And, when you look at your factory owners, your farmers, this and that, they're employing folks, they go to jail. They go to jail with the rest of them. And I think, agreeing with Josh a whole lot on this one, you have to fix the amount of time it takes to apply for that visa. I mean, that's the bottom line, and I don't know if there's some, maybe maybe a hybrid is the answer, to where if you're from a first or second world country where they've got, good police records and that type of stuff, and we can actually do a background check. Hey, when you apply, we do a background check, you come up clean, we give you a temporary work visa and give you a social or a tax, ID number. So, hey, you can come over here, you can start working, and you start paying taxes. You start paying into the system. I don't know if something like that is the answer, but I know a lot of the countries that these people are coming from don't have anything like that, and that's part of the problem, right? Especially when you look at parts of Mexico, Honduras, stuff like that. It's like, yeah, police check down there, good luck. Let me know how that works out for you. And maybe that's just the way it is. I mean, it's like, hey, those places, sorry, you're not going to get in here with some temporary work visa because we can't validate or verify your criminal history. But if
what's crazy, I want to throw something in here real quick, and you're not going to believe this when I tell you this. You know who had really good records, really good criminal records when I was with DHS down at the border? Venezuela.
Really?
Oh yeah. They had an extensive database, and not only did they have the extensive database,
most communist countries do.
Yeah,
it was open. It was an open database. Anybody
Wow.
could go look at it. Any of their citizens. I'm just saying. I mean, I agree. Honduras, Mexico. Yeah, it's sketch, but that's to underscore the point. They would not keep these Venezuelans long enough for us to, okay, got the name, got all these names, let's run through the criminal database. By the time all those numbers got back, they were already fucking gone.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail you. I just had to throw that in.
No, I mean, it's a valid point because that's the whole thing is one, we don't need to let criminals in here. So do the background checks, whatever you got to do. And, you know, if you want to give them a temporary, tax ID number or something like that, so they can pay in the system and you're here. But then the problem becomes to, like, when you talk about people that overstay their visas, or let's say they get denied, right? So it goes back to Josh's solution. Do we really have a process to get rid of those folks? Well, not really, because look at your Chinese lady. You just got to, it's a passive approach to it. You just got to hope this person's dumb enough to come across a checkpoint, where a lot of these places, when you look at your blue states and hell, even Arizona, I mean, you can stay out here as an illegal forever, right? Hey, just don't go down to Nogales. Don't fly overseas, and, probably don't drive to Oklahoma, and you're going to be in good shape. We don't have any formalized process that's effective, that's proactive versus being reactive, to say, hey, this person, and nowadays everything's so, with AI and everything's so automated. It's like, dude, it shouldn't be that difficult. But that's why you see the fight with voter ID and driver's licenses and stuff like that, because that's what the blue states want. They want the illegals here because they are voting. We see that in New Jersey, right? We've had problems here in Arizona with it, but that's what they want, because they want that illegal. They don't want you to be able to tell the difference between the illegal, right, and the American citizen. That's what they want. And so, unfortunately, while we have this, while you have the Democrat Party that is so in supportive of having illegals here and bringing in illegals, it'll never get fixed. But I mean, some of the stuff that we just mentioned here, I mean, those are pretty common sense approaches. And and it's mind boggling to me, because when I look at, the companies that we work at, it's hard to bring somebody on. I shouldn't say hard. I mean, like, hey, dude, I got to see your birth certificate. I got to see your driver's license, I-9 form, fill out. So, I don't know, maybe because we're just not illegal, I'm not running a farm full of illegals or whatever. It's like, I guess they're just paying cash into the table, which I know a lot of places are like that, but some of these places, aren't doing that. They're on payroll or what have you. So there's just some breakdown in the system in itself that, it's got to be a holistic approach, but you got to start somewhere. I like the border lockdown. That's great. But the next big thing, hey man, hold these employers accountable, and you got to get the people here out. You've got to find a way to do that. And I don't think I've heard, obviously with Holman and, you hear Trump talk about, but when you really talk about the numbers that we need, because what do they estimate? Somewhere between 15 and 25 million illegals, if not more. Hey, deporting 30,000 a year ain't going to cut it. I mean, you have to have, you have to have some holistic process that is proactive, that you're going to have to start kicking out 1 million a year, man. And then that's how you start getting rid of like you talk about the pull factor, which you're 100% spot on. That's when the labor market will start fixing itself. The cheap labor will start fixing itself. People will stop coming, and then, housing. And then when you get to the point where, oh, by the way, if you are, a upstanding citizen of Venezuela and you want to come here and we can run a background check and you look good. Okay, well, you know what? Let's make this so it's not a 5-year process. But you got to do it on. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. The other thing that I would say.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Luke.
No. Go ahead.
I would say the other thing that we need to do is there has to be a carrot and a stick for the countries in which these folks are coming from. Right. It would be something as simple as, right, if I'm DJT on day one, it'd have been like, for every citizen of yours that is here illegally, that's 10% less foreign aid you're getting this year. So, open up your borders all you want to, right? Keep sending your trains all you want to, but there has to
be. Which you did some of that with these with one or two of the South American countries.
He did.
Off the top of my head.
He did some of that, and but he, like what they did with El Salvador.
Oh yeah,
right. And the president, I forget the name of the president of El Salvador. It was fantastic. It was like, hey, we're going to give you money. We're going to help you because we helped build that prison. Right. In El Salvador, they were cleaning up their gang problem, before DJT got in office. I can't think of their president's name, but we have to, we have to, yeah. We have to incentivize other countries to, keep their folks from illegally, migrating here. And then we have to help them, create an environment that people don't want to leave, to an extent. We'll go, hand it up, but we had, right. That's again, these are things that we can do now, realistically, to answer Luke's question from like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. So we've got about 5 to 8 minutes left. For those of you watched on YouTube, we got this in the mail. Got the X money going on. I'm all behind it, and I deposited $50 into that account mainly because I want to see it succeed. I'm rooting for Elon Musk. I like him, and part of that is because I like the kind of the white pill or red pill or whatever you want to say that he took, and I just like the guy. I think it's historic. But what I really want to ask Josh about, or maybe we can talk about it for a couple minutes, is Roger hasn't seen it yet, but Josh and I both saw the Odyssey. And did we talk? We didn't talk about this last week, did we? Because you hadn't seen it yet. Okay, so I'll say it up front. I love Christopher Nolan. I have never seen a movie of his that I did not like. They're all pretty good. I'd say there's different tiers of Christopher Nolan movies. There's your top tier, your second tier, and your third tier, but they're all good. Even the third tier movies are good. Even the third tier movies I watch again, like Insomnia, the one with Robin Williams and Al Pacino. It's a good movie, man. It's not one of my go-tos, but it's a solid movie. Just a mental breakdown of a dude with guilt. It's a really good movie. Memento, so on and so forth. So I was like, I don't care who he cast. I'm still going to go see it, because in a theater, if this is going to be a bad Nolan movie, I want to see a bad Nolan movie. I went to the Nolan movie, the casting, some of the casting decisions, come on, you guys know. Like, it's like, yeah, probably not the best cast in this part or that part. Elliot Page, Lupita, and whatever her name is, who played Helena Troy. But overall, I mean, I thought it was a good movie. I'd put it on the second tier of his movies for numerous reasons, but I enjoyed the themes. I liked what he did with Helen of Troy. He made it out, which I'm sure this was the case. It's people got to remember, it's the Odyssey, okay? It's a legend. It's not fact. None of this stuff, like some of it happened, but very little of it did. It's myth. That's all it is. And there's truth in myth. And that's what I liked about Nolan, is he brought out the truth in the myth. Okay. And like with the Helen of Troy thing with Agamemnon, the king, it wasn't about getting a woman back. Remember when John Bernthal, Menelaus, turned her, he said, yep, that's the face that launched 1,000 ships. And then he turned her head to the side. He goes, I guess it would be 500 now, because she's all scarred up, spoiler alert, whatever. It's like that was a shot on Helen and a shot on Agamemnon. It was like that was just an excuse to get a trade route. And the theme of basically the golden rule, treat those as you want to be treated, was a big theme in that. And I thought it was a good movie, man. And what really disappointed me, Josh, in my side, I would say my side, they freaked out just as much as the wokesters back in, 2022 were freaking out about, oh, I see this, I'm not going to see it, boycott it right now. It's like, bro, you haven't even seen it yet. It's like, why is everybody freaking out about this? It really wasn't that bad. The Elliot Page thing, it's like, I am sure that as Christopher Nolan, since she was in Inception, he probably felt sorry for her. And it's like, let's give this a small part. It's just, it didn't walk me out of the movie so much that I didn't enjoy it. I'm just saying, walk into some things with some objectivity. And when Josh got back and he's like, you know what? I thought it was a solid movie. I thought it was pretty good. I was like, I'm really glad to hear you say that.
No, I thought it was fantastic. I really did. And, as soon as when, the first inklings of it came out, of course, everybody on X is like, I can't believe, Elliot Page is going to be in this, and Helena Troy, is black, and they've got what's his name? Got the rapper. Black guy.
Travis
Scott. Yeah, and you're like, okay, whatever. But like you said, it's like, guys, like this story's not real, right? Like it's myth, right? Like, I mean, it's people are like, oh, you got to suspend reality, and Greeks weren't black. It's like, well, or you can suspend reality of the fact that a lot of this is myth, right? The Cyclops, you think the Cyclops is a real guy, right? And so, and that whole Elliot Page, not on screen for that long anyway, right? You're looking at almost a 3-hour movie. It's what, like 8 minutes shy of being 3 hours, and Elliot Page had less than 5 minutes of screen time. It's like, really, that you're been out of shape about that?
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! So mute if you don't want to hear this. But spoiler alert! I got some satisfaction when Elliot Page was killed, literally 5 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, well, that takes care of that, right? And they deviated, they deviated a little bit from Homer's Odyssey, because I think in the Odyssey, because I went back and reread some of it, and he does it. Odysseus doesn't eat the orchid. In the movie, he's that's basically how Calypso keeps him there for so long. She's shoving orchids down him like Flintstone vitamins. And there were some other things, but again, at the end of the day, you're like, it's a mythical story anyway. Just don't get wrapped around the axle about it. But I thought the cinematography was amazing. We saw it on the big screen, in the movie and they have different size, rooms in our movie theater, and so we made sure we got the big one. The music was amazing. I thought it was fantastic. The acting was pretty good. If I had to rank it, I would say it's probably his second best movie. I still think the Dark Knight is Nolan's best. The Dark Knight is so good. It's really hard to beat it. But I thought it was really good. I would go see it again. I would legit go see it again. I think his best, dude, Interstellar, not in any order of precedence, Interstellar, Dark Knight, Oppenheimer, and The Odyssey. I think that's, man, dude, those four right there, like that guy should, amazing. He's an amazing director just with those four movies, not even talking about what some of the others, Dark Knight Rises and Inception and like you were talking about in the others. But those four right there, guy's good. He's good.
He is. And there's always kind of a deeper meaning with all this stuff. You can watch it more than once. You can watch it more than twice. It's like there's always something new you're going to pick up. I was really impressed. I'm looking forward to watching it again. I'm like you, Josh, and my wife and I have talked about, hey, maybe we should go see it again in the theater, which is very rare for me, dude. I hate going to theater. But I can't wait till it's available to purchase on streaming, because I will buy it and I will watch it over and over. I promise. It was good. I mean, I just don't like all the woke right nonsense, man. It's just kind of disappointing from my side. Just like, hey, at least go see it first, and then form your opinions, Yeah. But yeah, it was good. Looking forward to Roger seeing it. He may have a different take. But again, Roger still hasn't seen Heat. So no, I think have you? Thumbs down, thumbs up?
Yeah, I finally watched it.
Okay.
What, like 2 months ago or something like that? It was a good movie.
Okay, all right. So we're having fun recording again. It's tough to get us all three in the same place at the same time and space. And but here we are. I've been nominated to close out, so I'm going to close out. Thanks for listening, everybody. We should give more shout outs next time. But until then, keep Canteen cups full and tightly secured.